Today we are trying to cover South and Southeast Asia and the new drugs in this session. And I have three distinguished presenters here from Sri Lanka, Pubudu Sumanasekara, and from Thailand, Naret, and from the UNODC in Vienna, but working with the region as well, Beate Hammond. And they will tell about, well, I said the real situation in Asia, in a way. What has happened in, for example, in Sri Lanka, a small country. We have been working in Sri Lanka for 40 years now, and it's such a small country with a diverse population, with rural and also some big cities and all problems with that. And we can see the whole country as some kind of a laboratory, when you can try different things, but you can also see how the new drugs or the old drugs are coming into the society from the ground. And Pubudu here, he is director of the Alcohol and Drug Information Center, and they are doing a marvelous job when it comes to both getting the information but also doing advocacy with volunteers in the society, inside the civil society, you can say, but also to the governments and institutions. After that we will hear from Naret about the situation in Thailand. Last 2 years ago we had some people telling about the oil projects in Thailand, and Naret has been working for many years on the local level, in the villages, in the hill tribes, together with them. And we will see, he will tell you a little bit about how it affects the life of the people, the policies from the government, and the trends in the region more or less, because it's both the consumption and the trafficking country. And then, yeah, I told you that. Yeah, we'll tell you about the UNODC SMART project. And SMART is, well, I need to read. It's synthetic monitoring, analysis, reporting, and trends. And that's a good combination of doing it smart. What happens with new drugs and how it's going to affect the life of people there. But I think we start in Sri Lanka, and Pubudu, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction to the region and Sri Lanka and Alcohol and Drug Information Center, which is my organization. And we have been supported by Adic International Institute for a long time. And so today's presentation, if I jump into that, so I included some of the experiences of my organization, which we have done, and the kind of practice through what we have learned, and some of the concepts and some of the science behind the concept. Because today I think when you say science into practice, that people question that which science is this? Because some time back we said that economics is science. Now people say it's not a science, because you can't predict anything. You don't know what happened tomorrow. So science is not like that. At least you can predict to some extent what will happen. So this science that we adapted into alcohol, tobacco, and other drug prevention is actually, I would say, mostly the kind of the social psychological approach. Because the kind of chemistry, the chemical approach, the kind of medical approach, the clinical approach, there are so many approaches. So what we wanted to do is to come up with a model which is cost effective for our kind of countries and which is sustainable, and at the same time that actually based on science. So not a kind of opinion, or not a kind of a group of people, a kind of things spreading all over. So it has to be challenged by some other people. So it's part of science. So if I tell you briefly about my organization, this is ADIC, the shorter form of Alcohol and Drug Information Center. So we are based in Colombo, but working all over the country. And as the chair said that we have a big volunteer force in the country. And if I blow my own trumpet a little bit, that we have awarded some international awards for the work that we have been doing. So we won the Tobacco or Health Award from the WHO some time back, and we won IFNGO Award for the most outstanding rural project in the region. So, and we have 20 to 25 people working in the office, but actually the rationale of the office is that we always say that office is there to mobilize people. So actually the real task force is outside the office. So, efforts to reduce drug use, so sometimes can lead to reduced use and sometimes can lead to no change that we experience as people who are working in the field, and sometimes can increase. Accidentally or without knowing, sometimes what happens is that from the good heart we do some activities, but if we do not really understand the kind of feelings or the kind of image or what is happening in the society, sometimes they will take it in a different way. So that also can happen. And when it comes to injecting drug use, so the same thing happened in the world. Actually some efforts lead to reduce and some no change, but spend a lot of money. But at the same time, that creating unnecessary curiosity among young people about injecting. So that leads to somewhat experimenting. So that happens because of the prevention effort actually. So therefore we have to be careful that what we really do with the crowd, especially with young people. This paradoxical results is not only in this drug field, but when it comes to suicide prevention. In some countries that happens. Even people who actually were the resource persons of suicide prevention committed suicide in some places. And sometimes we work to reducing stigma for mental illness and not talking too much about the mental illness and trying to reduce the stigma also can create some kind of unnecessary kind of attention and create the kind of results that we did not want at the beginning. So if you want to work out something, I think we should ask questions from us that we always do in my organization. So we have to think about a kind of interventions that helps reduce use, or because of our experience we know that some are not really effective, it is ineffective. So we have to be honest to ourselves. And some of the people who have experience here may know some experiences, maybe yours or maybe somebody else's, that makes things worse sometimes. So if I give one example from the treatment and the rehabilitation field, that some countries introduced very sophisticated treatment centers some years back. And what happened was that actually that attract drug users, not to get rehabilitation, but to get the facilities. So that happens sometimes. So that has to be very balanced. Sorry? What I said? Yeah. Actually in some countries, some time back, introduced very sophisticated treatment centers. And what happened was that it actually reduced the fear of young people getting into drugs because the services are available, very comfortable. The governments are taking all the troubles. Professionals are there, everybody is there. You know? So the things sometimes work, not the way we want. So we are doing it with the good hearts, but we have to be careful about what the real target population is thinking. So how it works with them. So this is just for you to think in the morning. This is a kind of common example we always use. There are two schools, school A and school B. So if you want to send your child, which school you will prefer? So I have given some characteristics that is according to this drug use we are talking about. I think I don't want to read everything because you can read, I think. Calcutta are a bit big. Okay. If you go through this, if anybody go through this, reading the first 3 points, sometimes, I mean in the school A, first 3 points looks very good, smart, good school to send a child. But if you consider the 4 and 5, it is a bit questionable, because first 3 points, that is the point of view of the adults. We like to send children to know the law of drugs, strong punishments of drug use, harm of drug use is part of the curriculum. It looks very systematic. But unfortunately, in that school, students believe drug give great pleasure and joy. And at the same time, students see drug users as tough or daring. The point 4 and 5 is the real target group point of view. So, but when it comes to school B, the point 1, 2 and 3 looks weak because it is not in the curriculum. Discipline is rather relaxed and the students don't know the law. But see 4 and 5. In school B, students do not think drug cause great pleasure or joy. And 5, students see drug users as weak or insecure. So what I wanted to tell you in the morning today is this: number 4 and 5 in both sections are very important when you consider the target group, because see, the target group is young people. With young people, the law is nothing to do with them. The punishments, it will actually, they attract to do this again and again and again, because when young people go against that, so they have become heroes of the group. So, yeah. So here, which factors are likely to encourage or discourage use? Is it law? Is it discipline? Is it knowing the harm? Or is it the image of the drug? Drugs as highly pleasurable thing or not? Or the image of the user, the drug users as tough or weak? So these last 2 points, again, I want to reiterate, very important to the target group. So I will go very fast through this slide because we know this. When it comes to young people, one-off activities, didactic or one-way lectures, and providing factual information, too much facts and figures about danger. So it is not working with young people. The last point is a bit questionable because drug user testimonies are working for the recovering drug users, not for the young people. Because young people can get a kind of wrong idea. Yeah, people are talking very nicely today after they had been using drugs for 15 years. So even to me, nothing will happen. They are talking. They are good like that. So, but that works for the recovering people, not for young people. So, just to say no like that, it is just a kind of word only. So, when it comes to the region, that in the Asian region, I think you will meet people, some of them are Buddhist, Catholics, Muslims, Islamic people, and Hindus, and some other small kind of things. So the religious approach is very common in the region from the very beginning. Even in my country, the oldest temperance organization is now more than 100 years old. They actually followed the Buddhist philosophy, the religious approach. And it is common, the moralistic approach, what is good, what is bad, what is correct, what is incorrect, right? So, and the discipline oriented. Yeah. Disciplined people do not take drugs. So, be a disciplined, good boy or girl. And some of them actually chemical effect oriented. They were talking only about the chemical. What is in cannabis, what is in marijuana, what is in alcohol, what is in tobacco. So the chemical all the time. Unfortunately, actually this chemical effect oriented approaches also sometimes may create unnecessary attention. I think though I can't remember now, there were some examples in the world that some young people actually attracted to use drugs because of some unnecessary attention given to chemicals. Because talking about this chemical gives you this, gives you that, and works in the brain, and it works like this, you know. So it is not necessary, people do not know about it. And the chemical effect is not the only effect that shape up the drug behavior. And some actually the approaches focus only on reducing the harm that we talk about this, I think, time to time in this seminar also. Because they are not actually really targeting the reducing it, but reducing drug problem, but reducing only the harm. Maybe a little bit will remain, because harm is reduced, the use is remain. So it's actually misusing the term, I think, sometimes. And introducing alternatives were very common. Okay, don't do drugs, go and play, do some art, so many alternatives. But the problem was that the real problem that people didn't know or don't know, couldn't understand that why they say go for alternatives. Then what about drugs? And the knowledge base, very common. Earlier we thought that, you know, the sequence. If you change the knowledge, it will change the attitude, it will change the behavior. So that was there for a long time in the education and the psychologists everybody is talking about. But now you know that works the other way around also. If you have to behave some way, so then you will shape up your attitudes according to that behavior, and you will seeking the knowledge supporting that attitude. So it works both ways. So the only knowledge base is a bit big, and only attitude changing also like that. And behavior modification is, I think, that what I'm talking also in this forum today is related to that. So changing behaviors, that is what we need. So then we focus really to the objective of. So, and yeah, these are important facts about commonly used drugs, but we often forget. But we have to remind it all the time. Alcohol is a depressant. But when we are talking about sometimes alcohol behavior, we forget it. It's a depressant. Even heroin is a depressant. So, but many people talk about heroin effects like stimulants, blah, 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 so many things. But it's Pubudu science, and you can prove that's a depressant. Yes, nicotine is a stimulant, but 10-year-old boy smoking outside in the streets will not seek nicotine through smoking. He's seeking something else. The cool, macho guy is smoking outside. He doesn't need nicotine. So it is a stimulant, but new user never feel it. They are feeling something else. What they have shown through the films, the telegrams, and the operas, wherever the film stars and singers. So there are many who tested and stopped as the experience is not pleasurable. That group is ignored in this world. There are so many people who tasted and tested. They said, stop it. Maybe alcohol, maybe tobacco, maybe heroin, maybe cannabis, marijuana. Because the experience itself was not encouraging to do it again and again. Some people continue it. So this is also very interesting. You know that we were talking about injecting drug use, but inhaling is quicker than injecting, according to science. Because if you inhale this, it just goes to the brain, to the system, to the lungs. But if you inject it, the route is so low to the brain. But injecting is attractive because for a common man, it looks like if you inject here, it will just go to the brain as it is because of blood. But blood is not the only factor which should go to the brain. So these are some things that we often forget when we are talking about, but we have to be real. This I got from a kind of research. So can you kindly read it, or do you want me to read it? Shall I? Okay. Rats were allowed to choose between two solutions with almost identical taste. So it's a kind of experiment. One of them contained morphine, For the first 8 hours, rats drank equal amount of the two, and for the rest of the 90 days which the experiment had lasted, they avoided morphine almost completely. This is science. This is proven. This is actually accepted as a scientific experiment. But looking at this kind of things, we human beings are a bit, oh, is it true? Why rats always didn't go to the morphine one, like human beings? Because rats, they really feel the chemical effect of morphine. But when young people do morphine or heroin or whatever in the countries, it is with some other things, not only the chemical, the group, the image, so many things. So that is very important to keep in mind. So sometimes without knowing, we may also sometimes developing images. So the other factors, as I said, for the human beings, symbolic meanings, you know, alcohol, how symbolic is it? Rituals, alibi for performances, self-handicapping, social learning, learned effects, expectations. So many things work to shape up the drug experience of a human being, as we are social animals. I was so happy yesterday. I was listening to one of our Ethiopian professors here. He was talking about the social learning, how it works for young people. It is not the chemical most of the time. So the other factors, image of user, non-user, the drug, the family dynamics, how today's the social environment is changing, and what comes from the mass media, activities of the trade. There are so many other things that shape up the experience, the feeling. So some of the examples. Looking at hundreds of these kind of things, they are not looking for nicotine, they are looking for something else. And this kind of promotions through films, using very attractive actresses. Every picture has a story, but I'm not going to tell you because of the time. The cartoons, unfortunately, when it comes to children. So we just switch on the TV and go and do our work because it's easy for us. But the children, innocent children, they are looking at all the trade influences to the cartoons, and they develop positive attitude about tobacco. They never talk about the negatives of tobacco. These cartoons never talk about negative effects of alcohol. Never talk about negative effects of heroin or whatever else when it comes to cartoons. Yes, these two are very important. So based on these kind of things, if we want to make up a model, excuse me, how many minutes more for me?
Take 5, 7.
Okay, thank you. So based on the things that we were talking about, so we have to be concentrated on what factors encourage experimentation and what factors encourage repeated use. Those are the two problems we have to face. And if you can actually solve these two, so the community or the country or wherever you work, the problem will be solved. Not that easy, but you can come up with a model. This, we know the direct promotions, indirect promotions, and we were talking about the content so far, because I was talking about what to deliver. Now shall we look for the kind of methodology? If you want to deliver this kind of whatever I was talking to a group of young people in a community, this is not the way. This is very passive. I'm talking, you are listening. Yeah, people don't like it. Even the drug users don't like it. So, the system, the delivery, not boring compared to how promotion is done. We saw some pictures, how the promotion is done. So some of the time, not some, most of the time, the prevention approaches, prevention activities are boring. It's not attracted young people. You know, that kind of vibrant is not there. And the other thing, it should become a part of the student culture and not be an academic topic of the school or in the village. Most of the time this happens. The tobacco, alcohol, heroin, marijuana, cannabis prevention has become an academic topic. It was not blended into the culture of that particular community. It's a kind of alien kind of thing. And when we deliver it, should be interesting or challenging. So there must be some kind of things for people to look at it. And at the same time, it should challenge people to motivate them to do something more and more. So this is about the method. And so I simplified this like this. How drug use is made to look attractive, special, presentable, or the norm. So if we can take a discussion with the community like this. How drug use is made to look attractive, how it made special, how it made pleasurable or the norm. As we discussed, it is not pleasurable most of the time, even heroin, even marijuana, or cannabis. How the drug trade works in my community or in my country, we should know that. And who are the students most likely to start use, or who are the young people most likely to start use in my community. These are a bit formal actually at the beginning, but informally what we can do is, all these findings need to be applied to informal or everyday life of people. So we should be talking about these things in the streets, having parties, wherever, talking to children, over the phone, So that is practical. We have done it in my country. I will not go this. I want to show this. Actually, I was talking about mostly with young people. So we have been doing this for a long time and it works. And last 5 years we have been trying this approach with drug users in a coastal area in Sri Lanka. So what they said after the approach, some of the pictures here, they have been going through many de-addiction, detoxification and rehabilitation treatment centers. Some of them have actually gone all over the centers, all the centers in my country. But after implementing this, actually it took like 2 years, and those are some of their sayings. They say, I was addicted to the group than the drug. But people looking outside, people say that, oh, they are addicted. But some of them actually do not need the drug, they need the group. Therefore they use it. And some of them said, didn't feel pleasant at the beginning and painful too. This is about heroin. High or kick was the interpretation given by the experienced users. So if you experiment it, I'm very sure that you will not take it again. You may not decide. It is that painful. But the experienced users say, oh yeah, great. You are a part of our group now. Then you say, oh, I feel, oh, that's the high, the kick, you got it. Good guy, like that. And sometimes after getting high, came to know that it was not real heroin. This trade, always what they do is, they are mixing to get the real weight and to sell it. So, not the pure heroin always in the streets, the purity. So, sometimes they said that, yeah, we took it. We got the high also, but after that we came to know that that guy sold us something, a fake kind of thing. It's not really heroin, very real heroin. And some say it was easy life without any responsibility. Some characters are there. So some people are like that, they don't want to take responsibility. Oh, you're a drug user. You're out of the family. But in my country, they have food, they have clothes. They are not completely out of the society. They are providing some of the things by the family or the treatment center. But it's easy life. Why? No responsibility, no job. But you can live. And some say finding money through group robberies were more exciting than using heroin. So, looking at outside of a group of people who are using heroin, we mistakenly believe that they need heroin, they need marijuana, they need cannabis. That is why the group is there. But it may be not the truth behind it, if you really deep go into the subject. So, in this effort today, we have 350 registered enrolled users. We have peer volunteers from the group, 6 female users, 86 already stopped use, 51 reduced drug use, 29 behavior disorder charges and changes, 39 relapse, yes it happens, 10 daily accessing the DIC drop-in center, 31 directed to STI clinics, so and 220 only identified the new group. So it works for alcohol and tobacco that we have been doing for last 20 to 25 years in the country, but last 6 years we have been trying this with heroin users and also that works. But this is our common experience of talking to this in my country. That will happen to you also, and in some other countries in the region. The common obstacles to go with the real science, I mean, not only the chemistry. We are mostly like to attach to the familiar. We rarely change our approaches and all, because it's comfortable for us to be where we are. And we have some kind of fear of learning new skills. That is very human. Conclusion. Should see that other factors encourage people to experiment and repeated use of drugs. Other factors I mean not only the chemical. Most common drugs are dull chemicals actually. Drugs are not chemically attractive. Giving unnecessary priority, focus, attention to the chemical prevent us from inventing effective, practical and innovative prevention models. Because drug users are actually, trapped and illusioned by drugs, and we in the prevention field sometimes misled by unnecessary attention to the chemistry and the chemical. And chemical effect is not the only reason for continuing drug use. That we have to be very sure. So there are so many other reasons. So from today, please think about your own ideas about my presentation. You may not agree with it, you may, but you have to dig into the facts and think about what we see media builder. I think what is the best is to start some work with a group of people known to you. So that will enhance your knowledge. So that will keep you up with the current knowledge. So if you want more information, you can go to our organization website www.adicSL.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Pubudu. And I do believe that we will do like this, that we will have all 3 presentations, and then we round up with questions, because there could be some gaps between. Okay, Naret, now it's the Thai is you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Espion, and thanks for the forum to invite us to invite me to share something. I would like to say something because I cannot share everything within the limitation of the period. The topic is illicit drug in Thailand. Before that, I listened from our colleague. Sorry, My name is Naret. I am like a singer for today. This is the first time for me to use this technology. And more said, I'm from Thailand, and I'm not going to detail about my experience, but I want to show you about the situation in overall of the country. And the important thing for my presentation is I not present about the successful. I think the good learning is learning from failure. That's why I would like to share you something about our country, about the failure from drug problem solving. And of course, if we ask the Thai people for 10 people, they will share you in different perspective. But I, as only one perception, and I work with the drug issue more than 25 years. When I have a chance to share in the big forum like this, I'm very excited. Because mostly I work with the people in the field level. So please, I will do the best. This is the illicit drug in Thailand. I would like to share you what three things. One is the situation in overall. And the second is, I put this analysis of that problem solving, success or failure. And also why the drug is not so success. And the third thing is challenge. That is my experience. I look on the drug problem solving in Thailand, and then I have some challenge in the process of problem solving. If you look in Thailand, this is a figure is in general figure 65. Population is 65 million, and this area we have 77 provinces, and this very important. You see the Golden Triangle, very famous long time ago. Until now, long time ago, more than 40, 50 years ago, it's very famous for the opium cultivation. It's the very largest area. For today, maybe change from opium issue, but this area still be a production of the methamphetamine, and also the new drug they call crystalline ice. We call in Thai we call ice, another form of methamphetamine. They make like a ice, like the Thai people they call ice because the form is ice. And Golden Triangle is the former one of the largest opium, but today main production and trafficking of methamphetamine, ice and heroin. That is the serious area. Of course, Thailand facing a lot of problems of drug abuse, trafficking, organized crime, and so on. And if you look at the overview of drug prevalence in Thailand, its drug situation is changed. From 1973 to 1977, we can call the first crisis. That is a very serious of opium cultivation and addiction. But during 20 years, the opium is in Thailand. You can say in Thailand is declined. We do many things, especially together with the international cooperation in many projects. If I still recognize because I have a chance to work on that time also. Thai, German, Thai, Norway, Thai, Australia, Thai UN, and so on. When I working in Chiang Mai that time, we can see the four-wheel drive. A lot of four-wheel drive in Chiang Mai city. And the sign showing UN, Thai, Australia, Thai, Norway, Thai, German, and so on. A lot of budget also try to tackle the opium cultivation at that time. And of course, if we look at the single purpose, for 20 years we can say it's very success. The opium in Thailand is decreased. Until now, it have some sign. Opium is increasing again. Opium cultivation is increasing again. That is, I can tell you later why. And after that, after opium decline, we face another drug problem. Start from after opium, we face with the heroin addiction, we face with the inhalant, and the second crisis is, we can say yaba, in Thai we call yaba. It's methamphetamine pill. Yaba in the Thai name means mad medicine. It translates as mad medicine. Before that they call horse medicine. Horse means if someone take methamphetamine and then they will be more power. Before the yaba widespread, we call horse medicine. The people, especially the labor worker, they use that drug. For instance, in the driver, then they want to drive for long distance. They take this thing because they don't want to, what we call, only one driver take from Bangkok to Chiang Mai more than 800 kilometers, something that they don't want to stop, something like that. That is but after that, Thai government to announce and this kind of drug we call meth or yaba to be illegal, illicit drug. And after that, the drug is widespread. This we can discuss later. Sometimes, for my opinion, some drug is not so effective for the society, but immediately when you, what we call, give the important to be the first type of drug by law and strong punishment is what we call the user and the dealer is going to underground and to widespread of that more and more. That is yaba, and very famous this period. If you heard about the news about during the war against drug, during Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra, I think everyone know about that. Very strong measure, very quick. The approach is look most strong, and they keep this problem to be a national agenda and do everything like clean and seal. They use clean and seal and then do everything immediately. During the short time, you see 2002-2003, the drug is decreasing, yaba is decreasing. The people is feel happy. Everyone, what we call, to look at Thaksin Shinawatra as a hero of Thailand and need more Thaksin, continue to deal with that. But unfortunately, because in Thailand we face with the political conflict, that is a big thing. I don't want to go in depth, but this is the main reason related to the drug issue also. And when decline until 2004, increasing again, and much more than during this period. We can say the third crisis. And for today, the government use the strategy they call Kingdom Unity of Victory over Drug strategy. The idea is very good. They want to persuade all sectors in the Thai society to join and to solve the problem in that society. But the implementation, that's the many problem I will say later. But this is in Thailand. And the trend, this is overview, the trend is ICE is increasing. I can show some figure later. It's a type of drug widespread, you can see, can find drug in Thailand, everything. The widespread of drug or epidemic in each region, not in all regions, but one amphetamine is all on region in Thailand, but some area, for example, Bangkok, on of drug is widespread. This is epidemic of the drug trial or drug use. And one observation is kathom plant. You know kathom plant, like a crop, like a marijuana, but they're different. But the people use for long time in many generations. They chewing when they work in the farm, and they chewing like a bitter nut. But for today, they are illegal. Why illegal? Because for today in the south, very famous, they use another drug they call 4 multiplied by 100 multiplied 4. They call 4 multiplied by 100. They mix with kathom plant and coughing medicine, Coca-Cola. They mix with another. But for today, they mix 10 altogether 10. You know, if you look at the drug user for Thailand, they try to find what do you call, how to use it, the pattern of use, the drug use, more complicatedly. Even, you know, some here you can find cow shit, you know, and then they put some coconut, and then they're breathing to make them drunk because there's some gas that is the fresh shit of the car. And sometimes they use paracetamol. If they have no methamphetamine, they use paracetamol and burn and smoke. And sometimes they use Coca-Cola or another like a Coca-Cola, then they put something inside, like what we call when you cooking and the Pong Churot, my friend, MSG. If you put a lot together with Coca-Cola, you will be done also. So it depends. So my lesson is, if you focus more only drug, maybe wrong approach. Because they can find anything because they want to drunk. They want to be drunk. That is my first challenge. And for the figure of number of people to use or related of the drug, you see, increasing from 2004 after Thaksin decrease, and then increase 2000 for today 1.3 for last year million, and estimate for this year 1.6 million people to dealing with drug. But and you see, if you look at the identification, its accept is 3 per 1,000 people population, but if you see the figure is more than the intent. That is very seriously. If you look at the dark white space in the village, totally in Thailand we have totally 84 villages, but dark white space is of course is different levels of problem. We can say at 70% drug is available in white space. The figure of drug treatment, you can see drug treatment is increasing every. In Thailand, we have 3 systems of treatment: voluntary, compulsory, and correctional system. And you can see compulsory is very high for sure, because the approach for today, they want to get the number of the people going to treatment. That's why they use what we call arrest the people. And then you can choose going to jail or going to the treatment. That is the high number of the patients going to the treatment. But very bad news last week. You know, the dealer, the trafficking network, they use another. Last week, one drug dealer, they put only 7 pills of amphetamine, and they going to near the police station to do something, give signal to the police, please arrest me, you know, please arrest us. And then after policemen arrest them, they going to the process of compulsory. But before going to the treatment, they going to the jail first, like a temporary. and then they bring some drug inside in the body to sell in the shell. Because they expect that they can maximum if they send them to the compulsory treatment. But in reality, they want to sell the drug in the prison. You know that very terrible. Yeah, that is very serious. Increasing, and then if you look at the figure, last 5 years increasing. Last year, this figure, but for this year, only 6 months for this year, 130,000 people going to the treatment. But for last year, yes, more than, because this is only 6 months. The government have a target 400,000 people going to the treatment for this year. But how to get it? How to get it? They send everyone, the officer, going to the village, and they order every district in Thailand have to do one treatment in each district within this year. At least the number of patients going to the treatment, they have already the figure, and then they order. If I am the chief of the district, I have to do. How to do it? They go into the village and tell Mr. Pubudu, please send your son to the treatment because I need the number. But terrible, because some youth not satisfied. Why? You take me to the treatment, I am not dealing with drug. But no. We need the number. But the title of the topic, they call treatment camp. They use changing back to better behavior. No one want to join. The stigma, more double stigma, if you do like that. But I have a chance to talk with the government officer in one province in Chiang Rai. I talk with them. If you do like this, what happened? You know, it's discrimination also. And when you get the people to go to the treatment, you need some record. If you record already, this man record already, you are take some drug and you have to go into the treatment. But in reality, someone not dealing with that. And the biggest group, you can see, young people for sure. And more is below 50 in future, near future, because child was evaluate and expect that 12 million young generation below 15 risk to involve to the drug problem. And treatment voluntarily is only 25. I use this figure, not my figure. This is official figure. But for me, this may be more high. When we talk about voluntaries, I'm not sure it's real voluntary or not. Voluntary. What does it mean voluntary? Okay. And the career, related to employee, agriculture. I'm not sure also in this, but that is a figure from the officer. But I think related to the economic system, related to the failure of agricultural business of the farmer, if they want to join to the drug because it's good business also. This is a survival. And this is a figure about if we compare in each type of drug, you can see 80% methamphetamine going to the treatment. And for the trend, more ice is the second rank to use in future. But marijuana and so on is stable, like heroin and so on. It's stable. And it is for the size 50, 40, 49 for this year, million pill they can arrest. They can arrest, okay? More and more and more, they can arrest the million people for amphetamine, travel, ice, increase kilogram. And marijuana is a little bit lower for this year. And opium still fills some area. Kathom is increasing. That's why I told you they not use like the same that they used in the previous day. They're not chewing, but they mix with other things. Okay, that is the new. The price, Yaba 7 to 10 US pill. I showing some figure because I want to calculate something for you later. You see, but very famous for today is pseudoephedrine. In Thailand, if you follow the news in Thailand, it's very famous. 30 million for 2010, and for this year, only half year, 3 million people. They use pseudoephedrine to mix and to produce the methamphetamine. You know, this is a co-medicine. Co-medicine usually the medical doctor use. But for last 2 years, many millions gone from the health system. You know, they going to another way to send to produce to amphetamine pill. Calculate very easy. Co-medicine 60 milligram multiplied by 1 million pill, you can get the pseudoephedrine 45, and then you can produce 2 million of yaba. That is for today. How the government has done? They put pseudoephedrine or co-medicine to be illegal. You know, very easy. Usually, I also take what we call co-medicine when I got sick. But for the if you keep some co-medicine, you will be illegal. That is terrible. Okay, and still. Golden Triangle is still the area is trafficking of and producing of methamphetamine and ice. And someone said Thailand is trafficking area to another country. Yes, but if you look at the number of people to use amphetamine enough, okay. And this is an operation. I will show you the learning from failure. Mean if you look at the result from that control. Supply reduction, number of drug arrest, not more than 10%. You see, they can arrest only 10% of amphetamine pill. And many limitations for suppression. For today, very most difficulty is the drug trafficking network they are in the prisoner. They are prisoner. It means the prisoner can order and can sell the drug. Even they live in the prison. And more worse, in terms of the prisoner that I mentioned. Prevention, new drug user is increasing. Even below 15, estimate 12 million risk youth. Treatment, 77 relapse after treatment in 1 month. Only 1 month, and after 2 months, 3 months, it means 0. We can say, okay. If you calculate 1.3 million people use, 80% use amphetamine. If they use 2 pills per day, this is per day. This is per year. But the government can arrest Pfizer only 50. It means available more than 700 million tablet. It means Thailand is one of the largest of the market of the amphetamine. Okay, trend for sure. Ice that I mentioned already increasing is more worse, and ice and amphetamine still be popular. I have something, but I want to stop from this chart for my opinion why the drug is increasing. The drug increasing. I have, yes, of course, with many factors, but from my experience, and I have a chance to work with a government officer also, and we found that at least 4 factors is effect, and that is the reason why drug is not decreased, it's increasing all the time. The first, you can see lack of in-depth and holistic analysis about drug situation. When they analyze the drug, they look at only phenomena, how many drug use and so on, but they never identify why, never learning together with among the all sector why. They look at only phenomena and then they tackle in the phenomena level. And the second, some weakness of operation, many weakness, not some weakness, many weakness. I can say like for example in the drug treatment, they want to get the people 400 going to the treatment, but which in the wrong approach, and they do everything. The government do everything without people participation. They do everything setting from the top to the local level. They order everything and what we call plan everything, even activity in the community level. Community never have a chance to think their own problem, their own context. But you can do only this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why they can do? Because they set the mechanism on all levels until the task level. Even in the community level, they have a committee, village committee, ordered or set by the government. You have to do 1, 2, 3. And the perception of the people also have the problem. In the public perception is a problem also. When we talk about the drug, because of the wrong approach, the people thought that I'm fear, I don't want to join. I'm fear because when they get about the drug, I don't want to join. Not my business. Drug is not the people issue. Drug is only the government issue. They waiting for hero. That is the perception of the people. That to people is important. People, important means maybe bad, maybe good. Prime Minister Salib, before Thaksin, they want totalism. They want Thaksin back again because they need hero to take in everything. That is the perception of the people, is giving everything for the government. They can do everything by themselves. The third one is body knowledge of limit. In reality, the people, they have their own knowledge. I work with the people a lot, and then they have experience, they have a community-based approach, they know how to deal with that. And for today, we can expand the network. We can say 10,000 village, but no chance to dealing because the policy is very patient. No space for the people to challenge by using their own knowledge. That's it. And the last thing is, public perception that I told. That I would like to stop for my presentation here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Naret, and I do believe that we all know how committed you are to work with the people to find the right approach of this problem, because Thailand is an example we are using in the international drug scene very often. Now, Beate, I think that you have to explain what SMART is and what you are doing, and unfortunately your time is limited as well, but please take 20 minutes. Maybe.
I will try to do my best. Good morning and welcome. My name is Beate Hammond. I'm from UNODC, that's the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, where I work and manage a program on synthetic drugs called SMART. SMART is short for Synthetics Monitoring, Analyses, Reporting and Trends. But I will explain this a little bit more in detail later. So first I would like to talk about a little bit about the background. What do we understand by the term of synthetic drugs? Synthetic drugs are mostly amphetamine-type stimulants, and there, of course, you have the substance amphetamine itself. Amphetamine is not so widely used in Asia or in other parts of the world, but it's very widely used, unfortunately, in Europe and Sweden particularly. The most widely used amphetamine-type stimulant is methamphetamine. And as the previous speaker alluded already in his presentation, this methamphetamine is available in a number of different forms. One is the Yaba form, so that's tableted methamphetamine, largely produced in Myanmar, Burma, but also a little bit in Thailand. And then there's crystalline methamphetamine. And then you have methcathinone. Methcathinone is only used in very limited parts of the world, for example, South Africa, and is generally not so widespread. Ecstasy, of course, all of you have heard about it, but it's been declining, mostly in Asia over the past years. Now, a couple of brief words on the dynamics of ATS demand. Why are ATS substances, amphetamine type stimulants, particularly sought after by users? And one of the reasons is certainly that they are viewed to enhance performance and communication. They are not only used for recreational purposes, so when people go out and they party, but also for occupational purposes, if I may put it this way. If you have shift work, for example, many people use amphetamine to be able to stay awake for long periods of time. The second thing, amphetamine type stimulants, because they come in forms like powder or tablets, and they are bright and colorful, are generally perceived as not being particularly harmful. They are also associated with a modern and dynamic lifestyle, and although some amphetamines are injected, generally most amphetamines are inhaled or are swallowed, so there's no stigma associated with them. We've now looked at why amphetamine type stimulants are attractive to users. However, amphetamine type stimulants are also very much attractive to the people who produce them. And why are they attractive to them? Because it is very easy to produce them anywhere and anytime, unlike a plant-based drug. For example, if you want to make a business trafficking heroin, you will need to get opium from Afghanistan. Currently 90% of the world's production of heroin of opium is located in Afghanistan. If you want coca, or if you want cocaine, you only have 3 countries where you can get the supply from: Bolivia, Colombia, and Peru. However, for amphetamine type stimulants, you only need a couple of chemicals. For methamphetamine, for example, it's enough to get ephedrine or pseudoephedrine. These are ingredients contained in cold medications, and if you isolate these substances and perform a number of very simple chemical reactions, you're able to produce methamphetamine, which is one of the most powerful drugs and even potentially lethal drugs around. Plus, if you don't get the chemicals where it is very easy to obtain the substance, there's a variety of other routes you can choose. For ephedrine and pseudoephedrine, like the previous speaker alluded to, in many countries have implemented controls, also because they are scheduled under the 1988 Convention, under Article 12 of the 1988 Convention. But there are a variety of other chemicals that can be used. In UNODC, where I work in the laboratory and scientific section, we have a chart on the wall. In the middle of it is amphetamine and methamphetamine and the various synthetic routes that can be used to get to the substance. And this chart, I think, would occupy a good space of the wall. So, you can see the possibilities to produce these drugs are really endless. Then, the laboratories can be very close to the markets, unlike heroin and cocaine, which have to be trafficked over a number of countries, smuggled. Laboratories for ATS can be very close to the actual customer. And that's obviously why it has no longer become an industry, although it still exists. In many countries, particularly in Europe, the Czech Republic or Slovakia springs to mind, there are people who produce methamphetamine for their own supply. So in a separate room, they have ephedrine, pseudoephedrine, and they perform the reactions to get methamphetamine. However, amphetamine type stimulants, the synthetic drug business, has also become a business where transnational organized crime groups are involved. The global trends: after cannabis, amphetamine type stimulants are the most widely used illegal drug globally. And when I say this, normally people are surprised to hear that in fact ATS are more widely used than heroin and cocaine together. UNODC has established that between 0.3% and 1.3% of the world adult population, this is people between the ages of 15 and 64, use amphetamine. This translates to a large range of people. Why is the range so large? Because we know very little about what is going on. SMART is short for Synthetics Monitoring, Analysis, Reporting and Trends, and SMART carries out research on the phenomenon of amphetamine-type stimulants in various regions of the world. The SMART project is funded by a number of states that you can see on the slide here, and it is fully extra-budgetary. At the moment, SMART is operational in East and Southeast Asia, where the project started in 2008, and since 2011, operations began in Latin America. Once a year, the SMART program produces a detailed assessment of the countries in East and Southeast Asia, and also a short chapter on South Asia, where we don't have a lot of information, unfortunately, and also on the Pacific island states and territories. Some brief trends. East and Southeast Asia is home to a third of the world's population. However, it's also home to half of the world's ATS users. So it's disproportionately affected by the threat. And you can see here in the tables that we in the SMART program prepare every year that in fact ATS, methamphetamine, either in the pill form or in the crystalline form, or ecstasy, occupy one of the top 3 drugs points in the region. Cambodia, methamphetamine pills, main drug of concern, etc. You can see all the countries listed here. The levels of ATS manufacture, however, have also increased over the past 5 years, so it seems to be a problem where the dimension is going up instead of going down. The labs which were seized, the laboratories which were seized, increased from a mere 83 in 2006 to 442 in 2010, and that's a 5-fold increase. For methamphetamine pill seizures, the previous speaker has already given us some very interesting statistics, but also here we see a 4-fold increase. The main production country for these methamphetamine pills is, I think I mentioned it previously, is Myanmar. However, in Myanmar, only 2.2 million pills were seized last year. Most pills are seized in Thailand and in China. There's, of course, a human dimension to this whole problem of amphetamine-type stimulants, and you can see that for the methamphetamine pill, the use trend is increasing. On the map, the increasing trend is shown as red, stable as yellow, so you can see it's stable almost nowhere, and it's also not decreasing, but it's increasing in several countries. The same is true for crystalline. The only light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, is ecstasy. Ecstasy has been reported as being declining in most countries in East and Southeast Asia, the exception being New Zealand and Vietnam. However, over the past 2 years, 2011 and 2012, there's been an increase in the availability of ecstasy, so it's likely that the use will shoot up in a couple of years. Methamphetamine treatment demand. ATS occupy a large proportion of people who are in treatment. In Brunei, Darussalam, it is 99%. However, very few people, this percentage chart is maybe a bit misleading, because very few people in absolute terms are in treatment in that country. But you can see it is an important problem in many countries. Then there's, as I mentioned at the outset, there's also injecting use of methamphetamine, and although this is far lower than injecting use of opium or of opiates, it has become a major health concern. Ketamine. Ketamine is a substance not under international control. It is a hallucinogenic substance, and it has also been increasing. It is frequently sold on illicit ATS markets as ecstasy. And the country or the region with the highest amount of, the area with the highest amount of ketamine use is actually Hong Kong, China, where it is by far the most widely available illicit substance and has caused many problems in terms of damages because it has long-term effects on the bladder, which are not very good. The treatment demand is also on the rise, and the problem here is that many countries do not have appropriate facilities available. Most of the treatment is still geared for the abuse of, I would call them traditional drugs, so heroin, opium, and maybe cannabis, but not ATS. And then there's also the issue of compulsory treatment, which tends to be marked by high relapse rates. A brief outlook on South Asia. The SMART program is not focusing at the moment on the South Asian situation, so I do not have so much information on this. But again, as in many other countries, the focus tends to be on drugs which are perceived as being more dangerous. So the focus traditionally has been on opium and other narcotic drugs. However, there have been incidences reported of ATS manufacture, particularly from India, but also from some of the neighboring countries like Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. ATS seizures are also made on a regular basis, and there's an indication that for some of the emerging new psychoactive substances, for example methadone, are being produced in India. With respect to use, there's very little information. The last general population drug survey was conducted in India in 2001, and it didn't even have a question on ATS. However, the government is currently embarking on an effort to carry out another study so that maybe in a few years' time we will have a clearer indication of the problem. So the story so far, ATS rank in the top 3 drugs in the region in East and Southeast Asia. There's a high level of ATS manufacture and seizures, and methamphetamine use is a growing trend. So what can we do against this? Of course, knowledge should be at the beginning of every effective response. So it is very important to amass knowledge and then also draw the conclusion to it, have evidence-based prevention and treatment, law enforcement approaches, and regional cooperation. But it's on point 1 where the Global SMART program is most active. And the objective of the Global SMART program is to assist member states in generating, analyzing, and reporting data on synthetic drugs. And for this, the Global SMART program has developed an online data collection system that you will see on the slide. It's an interactive online data collection system. So the focal points in the 11 partner countries of SMART in East and Southeast Asia, they enter data on drug-related data into the system, but then it's not just entered and forgotten, so to speak, but somebody in the UNODC office in Bangkok actually verifies the data, looks at it, analyzes it, so discusses a little bit with the focal point in the country, the actual situation. And from that, we developed situation reports and regional assessment. The SMART program is located in the laboratory and scientific section of the UNODC, and therefore the laboratory is in a unique position to provide assistance to governments on, for example, detecting synthetic drugs. It's often very difficult to distinguish ecstasy from, let's say, methamphetamine. Both comes in pill forms. You can, of course, have an indication according to the logo that is stamped on one of the tablets, but to know for sure, you will need to do a detection kit, and UNODC has detection kits available for synthetic drugs for governments who request it. There's also the multilingual precursor dictionary, which sheds light onto the various terminology which is used in drugs. It's available in the official UN languages: Arabic, Chinese, English, French, Spanish, and Russian. So Global SMART, as I said, is active in East and Southeast Asia. Some initial work has been carried out in the Pacific, and in 2011 it started in Latin America. The Global SMART program monitors synthetic drugs at various levels. I've listed some of the areas where the Global SMART program has been active. And it's also monitoring not only the established ATS, I should say, like methamphetamine, amphetamine, and ecstasy, but then also the new emerging psychoactive substances. And here, a brief overview. I've already mentioned ketamine. Ketamine is very prominent in several countries in East Asia, particularly in China. It's also quite prominent in India. I'm not sure, I haven't really heard any reports of ketamine in Sri Lanka, but I stand ready to be corrected on this. Then we have the piperazines. Piperazines are substances like BZP, MCPP, TFMPP, a lot of other PPPs. They were invented, quote unquote, about 10 years ago when there was a problem in the ecstasy supply. The precursors for ecstasy were very effectively controlled a couple of years ago, 5-6 years ago, and then it was very difficult to get pure ecstasy on the market. As a result, the piperazines were invented, and if they are taken together, they are said to give the same effect as ecstasy. Many countries where piperazines appeared, New Zealand being a prominent example, have put these substances under control, and as a result, I had thought they had almost disappeared, but now they've been appearing, in fact, in other places. Vietnam is one of the places where piperazines are very prominent. Then we have the synthetic cathinones. Many of you will have heard of methadone, which is a stimulant substance. Likewise, MDPV has been very prominent in the North American market, where it is being sold as a bath salt, and there are a couple of other drugs. I think, in fact, I could have 100,000 slides just going into the names of the various substances which are available on the market. We have the synthetic cannabinoids, which are also sold in markets for synthetic drugs. They, of course, imitate the effect of cannabis, marijuana, and there you also have a limitless variety, and most of them are named after J.W. Hoffman, who was a scientist who experimented in this. The previous speaker referred to kratom. Kratom is actually of the species Mitragina speciosa, and it has been used for generations in a very limited area, namely Thailand and then maybe Malaysia and a couple of other countries. However, the EMCDDA recently carried out a study where actually it was established that kratom was one of the most popular substances on the internet, and is also being increasingly sold to European countries, many of which it is not under control. Then we have Salvia divinorum, which is a psychedelic plant native to Latin American countries, mostly Mexico, and has caused a number of concerns in Canada. So these new psychoactive substances are also an increasingly global phenomenon. At the outset, they appeared in very established ATS markets in Europe, in North America, but we see them now creeping into other markets around the world, particularly East and Southeast Asia. We've seen synthetic cannabinoids also in the Near and Middle East. There has been reports of some cathinones in Latin America, and South Africa has seen synthetic cannabinoids. The Global SMART program will carry out some more in-depth research on the new psychoactive substances, pursuant to a resolution which was adopted at the recent Commission on Narcotic Drugs meeting in March, and we hope to be able to have a report on this by March 2013. So how can we address this challenge? And there I would like to stress the importance of monitoring. However, monitoring systems exist in many developed countries, fairly advanced countries. The United States has a fantastic monitoring system. Sweden has an excellent monitoring system. Australia has very good monitoring systems. However, they do not really exist in developing and emerging countries, and this is where the SMART program is working to get these countries also, because you cannot implement reasonable and effective drug policy unless you have at least a bit of data available. The SMART program also supports laboratory analysis and sharing of information through networks. And I think with this I will end here.
Thank you, Beate. We are running out of time, but I think that if we have one very good question. Someone?
Yes, I don't know if it's a good question, but Beate Hammond, please. How can come that the ATC have become so popular in Asia?
I think that's a very relevant and pertinent question. I'm sorry, I don't think I have a good answer for it. ATS have traditionally been very strong in Japan after the Second World War, but why? I think this would require some historical research. But in fact, what is happening is that ATS are actually popular around the world, except maybe not so much in Europe, Scandinavia, a bit more popular than the rest. But as to why, they are particularly, I presented the slides at the beginning, so which sort of explains some of the popularity in that region, but I'm afraid I don't have a fully scientific answer as to why they are so widely used in Asia, not in other parts of the world.
Thank you.
Yes, Madam. We have one question from Brunei.
Thank you very much. I'm from Brunei. I've been with this anti-drug work and the drug also for more than 20 years. Can I maybe answer a little bit of that from my experience from the ATS, because that's available in Brunei too. Maybe because, number one, it's easily available, very easily, it's easily smuggled through, and the effect is immediate. I think that's one reason why it is so popular in Brunei. So that could be, I'm not an official anymore. I actually set up the government anti-drug agency, which became the bureau, the BKN, the Control Narcotics Bureau. Okay? My question is to the young man from Sri Lanka. I was the past president of INJECTING, and I didn't realize that you are the one who received that award from INJECTING. My question to you, let me just say congratulations, receiving that award, and we really admire your work. But one thing which I wanted to address is the question of motivational, which we use a lot in Brunei. I'm not sure whether you have touched that issue, but one thing which we address to the young people, first thing, we don't give this talk, and no more. No scare tactics, no telling of facts and so on, but we ask the young men, what do you want to be when you grow up? What is your ambition? We find that's very, very effective. We say, oh, you want to be a pilot, or do you want to be a laboratory technician, or you want to be anything that you want? So we said, how do you propose, how are you going to get that? Are you going to pass your exam, Are you going to go do your homework and so on and so forth? But you can't do your homework or you can't pass your exams if you miss schools, Why missing schools? Because he was doing sniffing or he didn't do, the other drugs and so on and so forth. So that was one approach which we did. We motivate them to reach their potentials for the future. We said, do you want to be out of jobs? Do you want to end up being a person sweeping the streets? Do you want to end up looking like that picture? That one with the man, who has got the awful looking thing that is very negative pictures? Do you want to end up looking like that? So that is what we did. Our motivational talks to the young people. This is the Basmita, which I represent, Anti-Drug Association, which I founded more than 25 years ago. And that is one approach which we do now to the young people. Motivate them to develop to their fullest potential. What is it that they want to do? We don't do much about, talk about, not so much as the other things that the old tactics, the scare tactics, the information, how to do it, it's good to be here. We don't do that anymore. We motivate them to develop to their fullest potential. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you.
So can I just ask this lady here a quick question? I'm from Australia. Just recently in Australia, statistics came out in regard to marijuana use and said that Australia and New Zealand young people were one of the worst in the world. Their rate of use of that drug was very, very high, but it gave an measure of Asia is really low. But that's difficult to understand. Can that be explained easily or not?
Australia's figures for drug use,
Marijuana.
cannabis,
Marijuana.
cannabis are very high, mostly higher than in other regions, and we are a bit wondering as to why. It may be that Australians and New Zealanders are more open and honest when talking about their drug use than people in other regions. However, it is true that cannabis use in Asian countries is generally not very high at the global level. So that's the explanation.
I can understand that.
Well, to conclude this, I would like to say that when listening to these three presentations and seeing the situation in Southeast Africa, where they are now going into, you can see the rapid economical growth in China, for example, and also in a number of other countries around. You can see the increase of drugs, and it must be in the middle class, because they cannot afford from the rural side, from the poor person. So there is a challenge how to tackle this one when you also are more or less only looking on the financial side, on the economic growth in the countries. And you have this setup of the ASEAN region, which will be something like the European Union or free trade community, where drugs, where you can say that the goods and the market will be open, and what will happen to the drug scene at that time. And the big challenge I can see in the coming years is what to do with prevention. What kind of advocacy do we need to do? How can we, as Naret said from Thailand, how can we, in a way, take the public, the concern of the public, how can they feel that this is their issue when you have a tradition of governments so strong and that everything comes from top to bottom, that you have to do that. And that's also a part of this ASEAN creation, because they are not talking to the people, they are talking to the governments. So we need to have some kind of influence there. And in 2 years, I hope that we can come back and say that we have found some kind of a solution how to tackle this. And with this, I thank you all for coming here, and I think that we will have some rainforest for the speakers and some coffee downstairs for you. Thank you for attending.